Hello everyone, Callous back again, inexplicably invited to return for round 2 of the Jimvitational tournament as a guest narrator. So that's what we're going to do today. But first, you know what? I want to address something. I want to get something off my chest. I have noticed from some of you guys in the comments section, yeah, I read them. I have noticed that some of you are not happy with the video quality of my productions. To which I say, I'm not happy with the way this cruel world and you youngins and your technology have left the old folk like myself behind. Which is a fancy way of saying that I'm too stupid to figure out how to capture this on OBS, so I keep recording with HyperCam 2, and that's why the display sucks, plus my computer's 10 years old. In other words, deal with it! Now, back to the action. We have Gilbert Arenas, that is Marco P, or Marcop, however you want to read that. But his real name is Marco, last name begins with P. It's supposed to be Marco P, even if you want to call him Marcop. Either way, Marco P against Ban Manaphy. These guys, ton of respect. Probably two of the overall top 5 or 6 ADV players in this tournament. As far as what form, what shape they're in today, I don't know. But not all that long ago, these guys were really good. They have both made money in Callous Invitational in the past. Marco, a second place finisher the year that ABR won, which was CI5. And then Ban Manaphy, no, he hasn't ever gotten second place or first place, but he did get third place twice. So he's a 2-time money winner in Callous Invitational, which is an elite exclusive club of only, I think it's 4 people that have done that, 3 or 4. It's a really tight club of the best of the best. This is a pretty big match, and this is in the upper bracket, the winner's bracket. That means that whoever loses here will not be out of the tournament, but the winner here, crucially, will get a bye in round 3, and that'll set them up for long-term success while other people fight it out. They get to sip pina coladas on a beach somewhere and just watch. It's a good place to be. You want a bye. So let's get into it. As always, I have watched not a single second of any of these games before we begin. Makes it more authentic, makes it more exciting. Best of 3, Gilbert Arenas on the bottom. That's Marco. Ban Manaphy on the top. Let's go. Breloom lead. That's a bit unusual, but Suicune is apparently faster than Breloom, which to me means it is a very offensive Suicune. It's got to be damn near max speed, and it stays in and eats a Chesto Berry, which obviously means that it has a rest that it was using as basically just a self-reset. Obviously, it's not built to last. It's just going to do as much damage as it can do before fainting. But Marco seems to have the answers here, and especially with that full power, that's going to really hurt it as well. But this is a sandless game that we're looking at. 2 full powers is terrible. The Suicune really wasn't about to do any meaningful damage to the Blissey anyway, but it could have at least gotten a rest off there. But with the double full power in a row, that is a pretty terrible start for Mana. However, a sniper prediction immediately doubles back the lax to catch the Skarm with Mag. It doesn't matter that Doug Revenge kills. Yeah, it keeps it 5-5. The crucial thing is that not a single layer of spikes gets down thanks to that really good play from Mana. And taking out the Doug trio in this way is very good as well. So we've got ourselves a 5-4 pretty quickly. Now granted, this Suicune is about to drop. Could be a Sky Uppercut, could be a Focus Punch. Does turn out to be Focus Punch. And Mana is going to keep his fodder, and I don't know that I agree with that play in this case. Don't you just let it go and then go to the Jirachi and save it the 73% damage that it took for Focus Punch? Kind of felt like he sacrificed his Jirachi there and did not get a lot out of it. But he's going to pull another double switch off, boldly switching the Tar into something that he knows has Focus Punch. Must have been confident in his read that Marco would switch, which is what happened. This one's fast. This one's already 3-4. The dominoes are really falling down in this game. Return there, pretty good chunk, 47% to Doll, but it won't get him on the next one without a crit. And Boom, obviously, is going to kill the Lax there. Leaves us in a 2-3. Salament's largely countered by Milotic, so it's probably going to be the T-Tar that has to get this done, unless the Mens can land a crit here or something. DD's up and Toxic misses. That's a good start for Mana. Milo apparently does not have Ice Beam, so the Mence actually does have a reasonable chance to get it done here. Toxic now is going to put a clock on him, and we know that he has lefties, so obviously he can't have Lumberry. Salamence, believe it or not, learns Refresh, so I guess that is an option, but not something that it carries very often. And he does just go for DD again, so Milo is now in range with all those Dragon Dances to where a critical hit would be good enough to get him in one shot. Likewise, even though the Mence will die, the Milo is going to be so low after these hits that the T-Tar can very possibly come in, also DD up, and simply go for the sweep. And that is assuming that the Breloom does not have Mach Punch, which it probably does not on a substitute Focus Punch set. That would be very unusual. Mence has one more shot. Mach Punch would kill him here, but unsurprisingly, he doesn't have it. So it leaves us with just Loom on Tower, which is well played for Marco if he has Sky Uppercut here, because he could just win unless he misses, which is exactly what he's trying to set up. Spore will work unless Lum. It is Lum. And there's DD, but he still has to either flinch him or kill him in one shot with something like Double Edge. And he is going to go for the flinch, which he does not find, and that should end the game unless he insta-wakes. Focus Punch going for the win. Could have substituted there, I suppose, to be very safe. But T-Tar does not wake up immediately, and the Focus Punch, obviously, with the 4x weakness from the very high attack stat of Breloom, is going to be way more than enough to kill the T-Tar there. Pretty quick game, just 28 turns, but back and forth, unclear to me until the very end who was going to win that. It was a very well-played late game by Marco. I think a lot of other players in that seat playing from Marco's spot would have lost this game, but Marco did exactly what he needed to do to get down to the Breloom against the T-Tar on the exact turn. He understood what his outs were. Now granted, Manaphy had outs as well. Like I said, he could simply flinch with the Rock Slide, but Marco played to his outs, put himself in a favorable position in the late game, and was rewarded for doing so. So just a little taste of why Marco has been a top ADVer in SPL and Callous Invitational for years and years and years. This is a pretty great display as to how good Marco, I was going to say can be, but I mean really, it still is, even though he's going to try to tell you that he's washed. So, let's move on to Game 2. Players will be on the same positions as before for continuity's sake. Marco P, Gilbert Arenas on the bottom. Another weird lead, Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl and Breloom are both not normal leads in ADV. And it's going to prompt a T-Tar switch out of fear of CB HP fighting, which is unusual, but possible. Skarmory does establish a lair against Celebi. And Leech Seed is going to swing and miss. That's going to enable a Toxic rather than a second lair. Puts a clock on him just in case he had started CMing up there, which I think is wise. And he's going to Leech Seed again. That's going to prompt lair number 2. Marco does not seem to care at all about the spikes. Certainly playing like a man who has a spinner in the back. And there it is. Now, whether or not it's going to stay in is a different question. T-Tar here could have Crunch or HP Bug. Going to stay in and Surf, and he's going to be immediately crunched down. That's bad news for Marco. Not only is he down a poke, but those 2 layers and a potential 3rd layer later going to be there to stay. And it's as if it weren't already clear, because, I mean, Tar Skarm could be a number of things, but Registeel is going to be a real hint, a real tip of the hand. We're looking at a pretty hard stall team here for Ban Manaphy. That is the only kind of squad that Registeel ever makes an appearance on. Hidden Power is a good prediction there. Now, granted, it could have just been aimed at the Registeel, but hitting the Skarm is good as well. But he's still threatening that 3rd layer. And he's going to pull it back here to get even more toxic damage on the Celebi, even if he had gone for HP Fire. Goes for Leech Seed instead to stem the bleeding a little bit. Goes to his own T-Tar for the first time. That is immediately hit with Toxic. And it's got leftovers, so we know he's not going to be able to lum that away. Granted, the Leech Seed gets him a little bit back, but obviously Toxic, not a good thing on T-Tar, particularly a DD-Tar. That's going to put a real clock on him. Earthquake coming down. Hydro Pump coming back, doesn't kill, but Toxic is going to leave him immediately dead, doesn't even get another turn. And that's going to leave us now in a 6-4 situation. with mana even further ahead, not only up 2 Mons, but also the spikes in a commanding position, in my view anyway, in this game too. Keeping in mind, however, that mana is down a game, so even if he does win this game, which he's looking pretty reasonable to do right now, he would need to win a 3rd game in order to win the set. 2 unreveals apiece becomes 1 and 2 respectively, as Marco shows a new Pokemon, Swampert. Comes into the spikes, but the damage largely negated by the Leech Seed. Hydro Pump there does get him on the board, taking out the Skarm, both killing a poke and preventing what could have been a 3rd layer of spikes, so a little bit of a comeback for Marco, but he's definitely still behind. He gets the arrow in on Hidden Power as well, which is also a good play. However, he's not able to go for Double Edge as Swampert switches in. Instead, he goes for Rock Slide. It does crit, but it is resisted, and therefore Aerodactyl has to get out of the way. We end up with Pert on Pert, both low, both in Torrent range, but now only Marco's Swampert is in Torrent range after lefties kick in. Ice Beam, however, will be good enough from Mana, who seemingly has the faster Swampert. That leaves us in a 3-5, still unrevealed for both players. Giga Drain there, not going to do it, just 9%. We do know that he has HP Fire, though, if Registeel is concerned about that. Last poke, Dugtrio revealed for Marco. Toxic on Dugtrio doesn't really matter. Registeel is going to die here to the Earthquake without question. And he catches up a little bit, but I feel like Marco is still quite a ways behind. Salaman's coming in real bad. In fact, if it is DD Mence, he will win this game right here, right now, pending a Rock Slide miss. If he connects with Rock Slide, the game is over. And as I say that, he misses Rock Slide. So that is going to be a sigh of relief for Marco as he gets lucky. We've now got ourselves something of a ball game at 3-3, but we still don't know the last poke for Mana, and he kills the Dugtrio here with an Ice Beam. So he takes the lead back again, now 3-2. Alakazam in the back is not what I was expecting from Mana, but that's a deadly Pokemon in this situation. Celebi's in trouble if it stays in. Aerodactyl doesn't really want to switch in. It survives Psychic barely at 4%. Aerodactyl should outspeed, and Earthquake is the move. T-Tar goes down. Where there's an arrow, there's a way, but Swampert should be able to survive here. A crit would be necessary, and it does not come, and I believe that's the ball game, because even though Celebi can kill the Swampert, I believe the Alakazam comes in and finishes the job. But we'll let them play it out to see if I'm wrong. There is the Giga Drain kill. Celebi at 52% should not be able to kill Alakazam here with anything, and Alakazam is going to be faster and have a super effective attack that turns out to be Fire Punch. Giga Drain there would have gotten him with a crit. However, not only is the Burn in the Sand going to kill him, but even if it didn't have that, as we see here, the Outspeed and the Fire Punch is going to get him, so the only way out from that point for Marco would have been a critical hit with Celebi. He had a 1-turn window to get it, and he could not find it. So that is a rare OU Alakazam appearance, not a common Mon in the metagame. You see it in Mushi League or in Draft or more casual things, but a tournament like this where the guys are taking it seriously and they're playing for money, you're not going to see a lot of Zam. Hell, this may even end up being the only Alakazam appearance in the whole damn tournament. We'll see. But I highly doubt Marco was expecting that, and I don't know that it, super carried Mana. I don't know that it was amazing in this game, but it is the last Mon standing, and that's all that counts. So Mana is going to send us to a game 3. Mana, I do think, deserved to win this game. Remember, he had that Rock Slide, 90% accuracy, 9 times out of 10. The game is over right there, because then he outspeeds the Celebi, kills it with HP Flying, outspeeds the Dugtrio, kills that with HP Flying, and we move along. So Mana is supposed to win this game, and he does, and that is going to send us to a 3rd game to decide who's going to go down to the lower bracket and have to play Pokemon in the 3rd round. Disgusting. Or you can do what I do and just talk shit and watch Pokemon but not actually play it, which is a way better place to be. So obviously, they're going to try to win. Alrighty guys, 3rd and final, Marco P as Gilbert Arenas. Bad basketball player with weird opinions in his post-playing career. And Ban Manaphy in action. Topside, 3rd and final time. Man, The trend has continued. Weird leads the entire series for Marco. Regice, again, not a Pokemon that generally leads in ADV OU. Medicham is obviously going to stay in against Regice, but he makes a prediction going for Shadow Ball rather than the obvious fighting attack. And good thing, because Shadow Ball does more, obviously, than a fighting attack would have to Charizard. Now, Boom is going to result in a Meta and Medicham trade, so Meta and Medi, respectively, with the trade, leaving us, of course, in a 5-5. Rock Slide, that is non-CB damage coming down, and that Earthquake back from the Lax is also non-CB damage. As if there was any doubt, we see lefties on both of them, but you can tell prior to the lefties by the damage that it's not choice banded. So it looks like two offensive teams here, so we should not have a super duper long game 3. Regice against Snorlax. Regice not a threat here, pending Surprise Focus Punch, Superpower, or I guess Boom. But generally speaking, Lax with the edge in this matchup. It curses up. The threat of Earthquake looming, but we'll see if he has the balls. No. He goes for the obvious Earthquake. A normal attack there in hindsight. Clearly better against the Salamence that came in, but to be fair, he didn't know that the Salamence was there. He now goes for a turn into the Mence, but he meets the T-Tar instead. Intimidate mattered there, getting him back to normal attack. He is still at +1 defense, though, and down goes the Zard. Apparently, Marco does not have a fantastic switch into a basic Curse Lax, and I really doubt with the way that the team is structured that this is a Rest Lax. I think it's probably just self-destruct. That Medicham, when it leads like that on teams like this, I was just about to say, a lot of the time it has Baton Pass and can BP to a Magneton, and there is a Magneton in the back, which is not exciting in this matchup since Marco doesn't have a Skarm, but hey, it killed a T-Tar. That's as good as you're going to get in a non-Skarm matchup out of the Magneton. So Mana is ahead yet again. It's going to be a 5-3 situation when they both have a hidden poke in the back. Lax reappears, and he gets it in on Regice. Mana has really been good with the double switches throughout the match. Swampert comes in for Marco. That's the last poke. Doesn't love that return. Gotta think that it is not a traditional full bulk Swampert here. Some kind of off-pert perhaps. He's barely living these two returns even though they're unboosted. He's at just 22%. But he does finally kill the Lax after a good amount of damage is done. Doesn't leave him with a whole lot to work with, though. There's a lot of offense on Mana's side. Hidden Power, that's Flying, not Grass, going to take out Pert. Here comes Regice to deal with it. Obviously with one-hit KO Mence with Ice Beam here. Substitute. Wow. And Marco with the noob play is going to go for T-Wave rather than Ice Beam. I guess he wanted to catch a switch, catch Magneton or what have you with a wave, but Substitute going to catch him off guard. Hidden Power 39%. Ice Beam pops the sub about 80 times over. And we end up with Magneton coming into Salamence. Probably not where he wants to be. 4x weakness. Exploited. Earthquake takes out the Mag. Leaves us in a 3-2 situation. Mence on Mence. One of them's intimidated. One of them's not. Dragon Dance gets him up on speed and back to neutral with his attacking stat. Goes for the flinch. He's desperate, but he gets it. So, hey, one more flinch or a crit would be good enough should he push his luck. But he doesn't. He's just going to fodder off the Regice to a Rock Slide here. Comes in, gets an Intimidate off. Maybe he goes for DD here. He's going to have to. I don't see any other way out of this game. And he does survive Rock Slide with the help of the Intimidate. See if he goes for the Rock Slide flinch or if he somehow DDs again here. That is neither. He simply Earthquakes into the tower. It ends up being Earthquake into the Mence, and that is a problem. The Intimidate here is relevant. The Suicune here will live everything other than a critical hit. So Marco must find a crit or a flinch right now or he is out of here. And instead, he finds a miss. And therefore, Mana, two-time money winner in previous Callous Invitational tournaments, is going to be a winner here yet again. A rock-solid Pokemon player, a very consistent Pokemon player, one of the overall best in the game, Ban Manaphy, with the 2-1 victory over Marco. He is going to have the luxury of not playing in round 3 as other people eliminate each other, and Marco is going to have to go to the ever-difficult, shark-infested waters of the lower bracket. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Callous Narrates. Hopefully a link in the description. Hit that like button and support Jim and the crew. Appreciate you guys watching. I will see you, maybe if they invite me back, in the next video.